Sounds like you had a pretty special and intimate relationship with this hammer, and that losing it was almost comparable to losing a loved one.
It's a nice way of putting it.
I love Thor Ragnarok. I think it's the best movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And yes, there are a lot of great ones, but Ragnarok is my favorite.
Yes!
And yet, the film has its detractors. When I posted this question on our community page, the most frequent answer I got was, it was too funny, or it didn't take the characters seriously enough. But I think it not only took its characters seriously, it placed them inside of a dark political satire. Now, first of all, you have to appreciate how Ragnarok reinvented this franchise. Marvel never really knew what to do with Thor. The Shakespeare in the Park dialogue didn't jive well with the wisecracking tone of the MCU.
Doth mother know you weareth her drapes?
Thor 1 is pretty good. It strikes a balance between feeling operatic
I now take from you your power
and silly.
This drink, I like it.
I know, it's great, right?
Another!
But then came Thor the Dark World, which was the worst thing a movie could be, which isn't awful, just boring. And it looked like Thor 3 would be more of the same. In Age of Ultron, Thor's visions of Ragnarok are filled with dark, dull yellows and long shadows. His mission at the end of Ultron seemed like Thor 3 would just be a setup for Avengers 3. Enter Taika Waititi, the director of low-budget, heartfelt, indie New Zealand comedies.
This is the best birthday I've ever had. I think it's the only birthday I've ever had.
In Ragnarok's very first scene, he told viewers that this was a different kind of Thor movie. The first two films began with Anthony Hopkins narrating about an ancient battle that would come back to haunt Asgard in the present.
From a realm of cold and darkness came the frost giants.
But in this film, the Ragnarok prophecy is revealed through a conversation.
Then you have seen Ragnarok, the fall of Asgard, the great prophecy.
Hang on.
Waititi got his first budget over $10 million, and he used it to radically invent the look of Thor. The pale hues of Dark World and the long night darkness of Jotunheim were replaced with Sakaar, a planet so colorful it looks like Lisa Frank got a genius grant to create a whole planet. Every frame of Sakaar bleeds primary colors, incorporating the work of Thor creator Jack Kirby. More than any other MCU movie, this feels like a comic book brought to life. You can also hear this reinvention of Thor all through the film. Mark Mothersbaugh took the plodding operatic theme of the first films and elevated them with an electric guitar and an 80s synthesizer. The score conveys the epic sweep of the story of a 1,500-year-old god and the synth-pop aesthetic of a Duran Duran video. But the greatest invention was the humor.
My God, hammer pulled you off.
Almost everyone in Ragnarok gets a laugh.
Oh, that's a crown. I thought it was a big eyebrow.
Even the new side villains like the Grandmaster
Get back to place, Asperg.
Asgard!
and Scourge.
I pulled him out of a place on Midgard called Texas.
Even Anthony Hopkins gets to have some fun as the fake Odin.
Father?
But what's most impressive isn't that Waititi knows how to get a laugh. It's how he uses laughter as leverage to tell a very dark political story.
Slaves have armed themselves.
I don't like that word.
Sorry, the prisoners with jobs have armed themselves.
Black Panther gets credit for having a strong political message, rightly so.
With my ancestors that jumped from the ships, because they knew death was better than bondage.
But Ragnarok is actually a story about the dangers of alt-right nationalism. But the audience doesn't realize they're in a sociology class because Waititi uses a teaching technique that I call brain fun. Basically, it's when you're so busy having fun, you don't notice that your brain is getting bigger and you're learning. So what do I mean by that? Thor's identity is tied to Asgard. In his very first scene, he swears loyalty to the realm.
And to pledge yourself only to the good of the realm.
I swear!
No one believes in Asgard more than Thor, but in Ragnarok he finds out that the realm eternal was actually built through bloodshed and conquest. The Asgard reveal is just as shocking as Hydra's infiltration of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Winter Soldier. It makes us reevaluate everything we've seen before, like this dialogue.
Your father is a murderer and a thief.
The golden halls of Asgard are actually drenched with more blood than the Overlook Hotel.
Where do you think all this gold came from?
Asgard, like S.H.I.E.L.D., was corrupted from the beginning. And then Odin covers up his conquest and reframes history.
Look at these lies. Peace treaties?
The movie keeps demonstrating how our leaders distort history to control people in the present day. Consider how Loki, disguised as the Allfather, rewrites Asgard's history to make himself a tragic hero. This is a great example of brain fun. The play is funny.
Sorry, I tried to rule Earth. They'd be lucky to have you.
But it also mocks the emotional high point of the Dark World, telling the audience that we're watching a different kind of Thor movie. The choir is even singing the movie's score.
Yeah!
most importantly, the play shows that history is malleable. Just as Odin created the story of a benevolent Asgard, Loki creates the story of a benevolent king of two realms. Just like in the real world, empires conquer with armies, but they rule with stories.
It was Asgard that brought peace to the universe.
Loki would have eventually become a ruler like the Grandmaster. He rules Sakaar for his own pleasure, not the sword of the people. Like Loki, he builds statues showing that he's a hero and a powerful warlord. And they both distract their people with entertainment. On Sakaar, athletes are the world's biggest celebrities, with their faces constructed on the side of his tower. Consider the hero worship of the Hulk. Unlike in the Planet Hulk comics, the people don't love him because he's a freedom fighter. Much like us, the audience, they just want to see him smash stuff. Just like in the real world, our champions are athletes, and we don't really care about celebrating, say, the teachers who build our communities. Grandmaster uses their hero worship to elevate his own self-image and make people forget that they live in a literal trash heap.
I'm just a janitor.
Scourge is a common person. He's a janitor who exploits his position of authority for financial gain.
Behold, my stuff.
Hela recruits this working-class individual to help restore Asgard to its former glory.
How would you like a job?
But for Scourge, joining the elites isn't about power, it's about consumerism. It's about owning the shittiest seen on TV stuff, like a shake weight. Watiti is comparing all of us to Scourge. We're all working-class jackholes who put up with bilge-snipe crap from politicians if we can just have enough money to buy our stuff. This is where Korg comes in. He's a great example of brain fun. Yeah, nearly every line he says is hilarious.
No, I didn't ride the hammer.
The hammer rode you on your back.
But he's also subtly pointing us to the movie's greater themes. Consider his first words.
A pile of rocks waving at you. Here. Yeah, I'm actually a thing. I'm a being.
Considering that much of the movie is about dehumanizing other races through conquest, this is his way of saying, I am a person. I have value.
The revolution has begun.
Korg is a failed revolutionary who's trapped in a circular prison cell.
But not a real circle, more like a freaky circle.
This symbolizes the cyclical nature and futility of trying to start a revolution on Sakaar.
Tried to start a revolution but didn't print enough pamphlets, so hardly anyone turned up.
He's not the first idealist who failed to change the world, and he won't be the last.
Another day, another Doug.
It's important that Watiti plays Korg because the Cronin is a stand-in for his own revolutionary ideas. Watiti is of Maori descent. They're the indigenous people of New Zealand. He's been vocal about his views on race, once calling New Zealand racist as and much like the other 8 realms were conquered by Asgard, the Maori were conquered by European colonials. Hela is the embodiment of nationalism.
She draws her strength from Asgard and...
Colonialism is when an empire wants to extend their nationalism past their own borders.
Our supremacy was unchallenged, yet Odin stopped at 9 realms.
Then Thor learns that to kill Hela, you have to kill Asgard, and to do that, he has to reevaluate what Asgard represents. But more importantly, Thor has to reevaluate himself.
It's too strong. Without my hammer, I can't.
Are you Thor, the god of hammers?
See, the politics in the movie, they don't mean anything if the characters aren't affected. And Ragnarok has more character growth and change than any other MCU movie. Now, not that MCU heroes don't evolve and grow, they do. But in Ragnarok, nearly every character ends in a different place from where they started. Taika Waititi is the first filmmaker to really understand Thor. Yes, he's an all-powerful god who commands the elements, but he's a dude bro.
I am mighty.
He's captain of the Asgardian football team, the Golden Boy who can never do wrong. After Hela destroys Thor's hammer, he believes he's powerless, just like Asgardians think they're powerless without the Golden Realm. And even though he can control lightning, he's constantly electrocuted. All through the movie, Thor loses.
I choose to run toward my problems and not away from them. That's what...
He thinks he's powerless against lightning until he realizes that he is lightning. And just like he doesn't need the hammer, Asgardians don't need Asgard.
Asgard is not a place. It's a people.
So that's Thor's arc, but let's look at some of the other characters. Scourge and Valkyrie learn to fight for their people and not just for themselves. Banner becomes the Hulk to save lives, even though he might end up being trapped forever.
What I'm trying to tell you is that if I turn into the Hulk again, Banner may never come back.
Even Odin shows a little humanity when he tells his sons,
I failed you.
But the greatest character arc across all the Thor films is his relationship with Loki.
At the end of the day, you're you and I'm me. And let's be honest, our paths diverged a long time ago.
This is the real heart of the movie. From his first scene, Loki has more nuance than almost any other comic book villain. He's funny, relatable, but ultimately a bastard. His relationship with Thor is the centerpiece of this trilogy. Loki wants to rule for his own glory because Daddy didn't hug him enough.
You could never have a frost giant sitting on the throne of Asgard.
But then Thor helps him realize that, like Korg,
hey man,
he's trapped in a vicious cycle.
I trust you. You betray me round and round in circles we go.
The resolution of Thor and Loki's story is why I'm so puzzled by the movie's main criticism. On our community page, people kept saying that Ragnarok undercut emotional moments, especially in the last scene. As Asgard is being destroyed, Taika Waititi proxy Korg tries to give the moment gravitas.
It will become a haven for all peoples and aliens of the universe.
But this expectation is quickly undercut by the reality.
Now those foundations are gone. Sorry.
This scene is not the heart of the movie. If anything, it's mocking the self-importance Asgardians feel about their home, the same self-importance that we place on our own nations when what actually matters is people. I mean, be honest. Did you guys ever really care about Asgard? Did it feel real and lived in like Middle-earth? Was it ever anything besides background extras, gold pipe organ buildings, and laser guns? Taika doesn't undercut the real emotional moments of the films, like Odin's death or Thor and Loki's reconciliation. Those are the moments the franchise has been building toward, because these moments are about people. And a lot of fans also complain with how quickly the Warriors 3 were killed. But again, did you care? Did you know that this guy is played by 2 different actors and one of them was Shazam?
I thought that was stupid, but now I look like this and I need your help.
And now to end, let's look at all the little things that make this movie great. Doctor Strange's comic accurate gloves. Every teleportation effect in Strange's Sanctum was done in camera. The little keyboard. The wing helmet is back. Hulk's bed is made from the skull of a monster and the jaw is the headboard. Banner's face is perfectly reflected in the Hulk's in this scene. Thor bangs his staff like Odin. The Grandmaster orgy ship is the dirtiest MCU joke since the black light in Guardians.
If I had a black light, the place would look like a Jackson Pollock painting.
Thor's throne is a captain's chair, the birthday button. Exposition about Sakaar being told visually instead of just a character talking. And these scenes.
Piss off, Ghost!
So that's why I love Thor Ragnarok. How about you? Let me know your favorite Ragnarok scene in the comments below. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe. For Screen Crush, I'm Ryan Airy.